Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I hope it, well, there could be in-betweens, of course. There is various sorts of things that go on. But anyway, we've got a Protoss versus Terran here. You can see they're both barcodes, unfortunately, which does make it a little bit difficult for me. But I do know of the name of the Terran, but we'll get to him in just a second. Up at the top right-hand side of Yonsu LE, a wonderful ladder map. I really like this map. We'll talk about it in a second, but up at the top right, I don't know who this guy is, but he is our Red Protoss player, so we'll just call him Red Guy, or Red, or something. I don't know. You guys can name him. So I need like a generic name to give these barcode players where I don't know who they are, because it gets a little bit boring saying blue and red, but you know, that's the nature of when you can't actually change your name properly. But his opponent down at the bottom left-hand side is our Blue Terran player. He is also a barcode player, but I do know who it is. From Frenetic Array, it is Hut. Now, Hut is an Australian Terran player who is quite well known around here for being one with the 11-11 for quite a while during his period of play across Wings of Liberty, and then through a bit of Heart of the Swarm. I must say I haven't actually seen too much of Hut recently, but certainly we'll get to see how he goes here today. I did mention I really do like this particular map. Now, there are a few reasons for that. It's a really nice balance, I kind of find, of, you know, a natural base that, you know, is nice and easy to take. It's relatively easy to wall off. Sometimes Protoss players have a little bit of a weird sort of decision about how to wall it, but we can talk about that later. But it's got the natural base, you know, you've got the threat of a possible attack here, very similar to a very old map that was in the map pool a long time ago in Wings. I can't remember what it was called. Backwater Gulch, I think was the name. Post in the comments if you remember that particular map. It was it has a little bit of an exposed natural because of rocks that can come in from, if I remember correctly, from the side, kind of like this. But then you do have the, you know, a couple of entrances, a few ways you can go to get into the natural. There are of course two different third bases you can take. You can take one down here, which is behind rocks, or you can take one over to the side, which has its own difficulties. You are able to drop down some destructible debris here to block that off and sort of give yourself a little bit of time before attacks can come in. And then there is also a backdoor path which has some grass across the side, which has been, I've seen a lot of players get very infuriated about that particular facet of this map. There's a lot of grass all over the place. You've got some here, if I remember correctly, there's obviously some around the watchtowers, and then, you know, leading into the third base. It can make it a little bit difficult sometimes unless you're fully prepared for attacks. You can sometimes have people surprising you coming from multiple sides, and it can be a little bit annoying to deal with. But we do see a Reaper opening here from Hut, just to make sure that he can get a little bit of scouting going on. Looks to try and take down one of the workers, but this is high on the Korean Masters ladder, if I remember correctly. So, you know, it's the Reaper tax is not something that is actually too bad to you know, deal with here, because a lot of these high level players, whether they're Protoss or Zerg, are quite adept at removing some of their probes from danger, as we'll probably see here in just a second. Yeah, this guy is really on the ball there, just trying to get that probe away. Gonna send it back towards the mothership. This is, you know, these are little things that you slowly evolve as you do work your way up when it comes to playing this game. But you know, a lot of players, there's one thing that I really I kind of get a little bit distressed about watching lower level players, like basically anything below platinum or something like that, when people try and get very cute and try and run away their workers, and then they either screw up their macro, or they mess about with their mining timing and things like that. So always be careful of those sorts of things. But just back on the map, of course, as I said, nice to get your natural up. It can be relatively easy to get a third as well. It can lead to some really good 2-base and 3-base sort of games, but it can also lead to long-term games, because we do have a what is sort of a semi-island base down at the back here in the corner. There is, of course, a mirrored one on the opposite side, and I also really like the aesthetics of this map, just because of the, you know, the snow and the grass theme, a little bit like Jewel's Sight, if anyone remembers that one. And there's also, hang on, can we hear it? You can hear the birds. I don't know if you guys can hear it. I can certainly hear it. But the birds, I don't know. I just felt like talking about those birds because I think it's really cool. But anyway, we've got our Terran player Hunt. He's gone up to 3 ranks. Very standard stuff here. Tech lab researching stim. We do have the factory. Also, just building up now. We do have a little. This is an interesting attack. It's far earlier than you would normally see because like a lot of players, they like to wait. Very standard sort of timing, of course, around about the 11-minute mark when stim is complete +1 or weapons may be complete as well. This is a little catch here to try and see if you can grab perhaps some pros, perhaps some of these various positions here, but it also forces out the photon overcharge. Now, I do like that Hunt hasn't overcommitted to this. He didn't run to the back of the natural line and try and wipe out some of the probes. What he's done is he has just come in here, took out a stalker. I believe we did get 1 worker kill as well. No, a couple more actually. 4 workers killed, which is not too bad. Not to mention a pylon as well, and forcing that photon overcharge out. You never really want a Protoss player to sit here comfortably with a mothership core full of energy. You need to have these down at just, you know, 1 photon overcharge at a maximum, because then that allows you to be very aggressive with the, you know, drops and then pushing into the natural, all these cool kinds of things that you can do as a Terran player. But let's talk about Mr. Red over here. He's currently got the Twilight Council researching charge, researching +1 on armor. So it does look like we will have what is quite likely to be a some kind of charge or perhaps charge lot Archon play is what I'm imagining right here. We are still waiting to see where his Templar archives are at. Of course, it does take a lot of gas to get this kind of build going. He did get those gases at the natural relatively quickly, and now we can see that Hunt is preparing for push number 2 here. He's back at home. He's still just basic macroing, no second gas at the natural, so we're not going to see too much tech coming out of him just yet, but he is actually, wow, nicely done to be able to snipe out that observer, which was keeping an eye on his army there, but he is still continually rallying some of these units across. We've got the combat shields on the way, extra medevacs now coming through as well. +1 on weapons is just researching at the E-base, so he should be able to get some pretty decent pushing coming out. And as I said, because of the forced photon overcharge earlier on, and now a second one, which has also just gone through, this next push, which Hunt is, I presume, waiting for, which he'll probably go for as soon as he sees the photon overcharge is gone. You can see, just in case you didn't know, like most players should know, but you can actually see when the photon overcharge is gone, because that area of effect or the line of sight, I suppose it would be, disappears. And now we can see that Hunt is approaching the backside of the main base here. Of course, there is a lot of room to drop in here. You can come straight in here or straight onto the side there as well. Looks like Hunt is going to go for the right-hand side, and Observer is going to see that there are some units in here. And now, of course, as we mentioned before, with no photon overcharge, it's going to get a little bit difficult, especially now that stim has been finished up. Of course, he is forced to load up because those zealots do have their +1. So these guys survive a lot longer when you activate Guardian Shield, when you have +1 armor on them. They basically take, like, what is it, 2 damage from Marines every shot. So it's actually really, really good. Hunt continuously shooting down these observers, really on the ball with chasing those down. In fact, using 2 scans to try and grab that one. So he really wants to keep his opponent in the dark. And as we can see, our Protoss player is relatively in the dark. He's got a little bit of an eyeball on what's going on, where some of these units are coming from at the sides, but he's had no time to check what's going on inside the main. So I would expect that our Protoss player would like to get maybe another sentry and throw up a hallucinated Phoenix so that he can scout about and figure out what is going on. Because at the moment, back at home for Hunt, +2 to weapons on the way. We can see the 3rd command center is now switching over into an orbital. We're going to get a few more racks just adding in as well to take us to a total of 5, which will give him really nice production. And we'll start to see, I would suspect, maybe we'll, after we get a couple more Vikings out, he may have a quick check to see if there is any sort of Colossus switch coming along. And then he will certainly consider Vikings. But at this point, when you see your opponent going for very quick charge lots, they're going to have, of course, the Templar archives won't be too far away, which means that you have to deal with the threat of Templar and these Archons. So there's not too much to worry about when it comes to Colossus play, but it can be these switches, which Protoss do like to do. You know, it does take a lot of gas, but once you get up to a 3rd base, that switch possibility is certainly something that could arise. So you need to be careful of those sorts of things. But Hunt has now taken his 3rd base. We'll see how he goes here with it. He should be able to drop down quite a few mules. SCVs also transferring across now. We can see that the Marine count is really starting to increase here for Hunt. He's got a total of 33 out on the map. 8 Marauders and 7 medevacs will be healing from the skies. So Hart is sitting in a relatively comfortable position. As we can see, his upgrades are still slowly coming out. He doesn't have the double eBay rolling until, well, actually until now, but what he does have is really great positioning and tech now coming out. And with the +2 to weapons just about to finish up, I would suspect we'll see him go in and try and deny this space. Will be a little bit difficult because these Templar will have their Storm available. In fact, yeah, that is finished up, and they do have a couple of Storms here. In fact, yeah, it should be at least 2 or 3 Storms are available, so Hunt is going to be forced to back off for now. So we'll see what Hart wants to do from here. I would suspect we'll probably see a 4th command center pretty soon, and then of course, you know, the extra, in fact, there it is. So we'll probably see him expand over to this position here. Now, a lot of players, they do neglect this base when it comes to PvT, and of course when it comes to the other way around, when it is TvP. Just because of the threat of drops here, if Hut was to take this base over here, it can be a little bit worrying for a Protoss player to come in, drop down some Templar, and you can not only just storm from the low ground down here, but you can drop in some Zealots, and then they'll be able to wreck those SCVs. So it does make a little bit more sense to take this this corner base over here, because you are able to set up a couple of turrets across to the side and protect from any of those pesky warp prisms that can make their voices heard later on in the game. But as we can see, our Protoss is probably going to be thinking along the same sort of direction. And why is that? Well, similar sort of situation. You can have, you know, you can have a Terran dropping down some units over here, or actually inside the mineral line, which can give you a heap of damage on any probe lines that are there. So these are the sorts of things you do need to consider when taking bases on this map. And it is another reason why I really like the structure of this map. It's a really nice balance of a sort of risk versus reward situation. And in fact, Hut is actually going to take this base over here, just setting up a couple of extra command centers because he does have the money for it. And this is something which you know, you do start to see as you progress through the mid and the late game of TvP, or TvZ in fact as well, is that the Terran players, they'll start to lower this SCV count. We can see he's currently at 68, but we'll probably see that start to drop down a little bit lower as the game goes on. As this main base mines out, you can sometimes see players will send half of the SCVs out to be sacrificed so that they can have a little bit more supply, or in fact we'll actually see some wonderful EMPs there covering the entire army of our Protoss. Player here is forced to back off. The Templar have been removed from the field, which means that there is no real big AoE damage here, but there is a couple of Templar off to the side. More EMPs now coming out from the Ghost. They've got heaps of energy still available. Getting a snipe off on one of the Templar. Another Templar down to the back will also be killed off. But here comes the Protoss army with the Immortals there to take care of Marauders. Of course, the Zealots will be tanking at the front. Archons with their splash damage. Lots of armor on all of these Protoss units. And I think that may be one of the only reasons that our red player is still surviving to this moment, is because he went hardcore on the armor upgrades there, keeping his Zealots alive a lot longer than you would normally see. But Hut playing quite decently there, being able to get quite a few excellent snipes on the Templar and then blanketing the field with some EMPs. But our red guy is not done just yet. He's going to push forwards and may decide to try and put some counter pressure on, but I don't think it's going to work out too well. Hut is now up to +3 on his weapons. It's just finishing up now. +2 on armor will be finished as well in due time. But also Cloak and 3 more Ghosts are continually pumping out. This is a very common thing you do see in the mid to late game stage of TvP. Is the Terran players, they'll just start to just smash out heaps and heaps of Ghosts. You can see with Hut available to send out, you know, anywhere up to, what's that, like 7 Ghosts at a time. If you have the gas for it, these guys are amazingly useful. They do surprisingly a lot of damage, 26 damage against light units, which of course include the Zealots, and if they're cloaked up and there are no observers, you can just wreck armies. It's like, it's actually just really confusing to see armies late game where the Protoss has, you know, Colossus, they have air units like Void Rays and things like that, but then, you know, cloaked up Ghosts, they're cool, they're just gonna sit there and just smash everything down. So it is a little bit of a worry when the Protoss, when the Terran starts to get around about this sort of anywhere above, I find 10 to 12 is a very, very pesky amount of Ghosts to deal with, because you can throw down Storms, you can feed back, you can do all the cool things to try and get rid of them, but they are rather versatile in their role as a support caster unit, or spell-based unit, depending on how you want to address that particular thing. But once again, I have been sort of called out here on both sides. Both these players looking to take their 4th as that little bit more exposed base. I think they're obviously just feeling a little bit more comfortable with it right now. Hut has taken the bottom right-hand side base here as a friend with mules. There he goes, dropping them down all over the place. Our Protoss player is now really starting to crank out these Colossi. We do have an extra Robo back inside the natural base. He's still trying to get out more Colossus, but he is a little bit supply blocked right now due to being at the max, but this allows him to start to bank up some resources. What I really do like to see in sort of this sort of point of a PvT is a Protoss player adding in extra Stargates to try and ramp up possible production of Void Raids and Tempests. I really like a few Tempests thrown in the mix in PvT. They really add this sort of awkward dynamic where you can get some really weird kind of like sieging against a Terran player, and it can allow you to really put the pressure on them to try and actually do something. And especially when the Terran player has gone out really far with their Ghosts, they've got a lot of medevacs, they don't have as many Vikings, so possible switches over into a little bit more of an air-based composition is certainly a possibility here for the Protoss, red Protoss player here. The Colossi getting a little bit too worse for wear there. Ghost laying down another field of fire on top of all of those units, forcing everybody back, and they will take care of the pylons, which means that our red guy is forced to back off for now. He just has no way to deal with all of the EMPs that come out. You've got of course, the Ghost that can just blanket these Templar, and now this base, the fourth base, is very exposed, and it will go down. A quick smart here. Hut taking a base lead and a huge economic lead here with his 66 SCVs. He's got mule availability all over the place. I'm a little bit surprised this hasn't converted into an orbital or perhaps a planetary to block from run-bys, but he is certainly secure on his side of the map. And this is one thing that I do like to mention in TvP and TvZ, is that when a Terran player is starting to rally to your side of the map, that's when you know you're in trouble. We can see the rally points of these is all the way over here. So Hut is once again coming across. The Viking count now starting to increase. It's up to a total of 9. Now keep in mind that the rest of the unit count is still sitting relatively low in terms of the actual fighters on the ground. We've got a lot of Marines, but it's not the normal sort of count, but that is because you have these very strong Ghosts here who can, as we saw just a moment ago, get snipes all over the place and then give a friendly hug with EMPs as well. So, as I said, this is a point where I would be certainly thinking about Stargates. Our Protoss player has not thought about that at all. He's just still content to sit back with a relatively standard sort of ground-based army here. We can see him starting to throw up a couple of cannons here to try and retake this base. I would love to see him go up to the top left-hand side and throw that one down as well. Hut, the powerful thing about his army here is that he has a huge amount of medevacs, a huge amount of Ghosts, and then the Vikings to support as well. If he's forced to split some of these up, then it can possibly hurt him here, and you know, that may be a way that our Protoss player can get himself in a really good economic position here. But once again, they do engage. Hut taking out a few of those air units. They're looking to target down some of the observers. I don't know whether that was intentional or not, but it looks as if he has been able to get rid of some of them. The Ghost now cloaked up, no observers available for our Protoss player. He's currently sitting on one observer. Actually, it's at the back of this army. It's way out of position here, but the Ghosts have done an immense amount of damage. Zealots will come in from the backside. The ground army is starting to deplete though, and we'll see. How did those rocks go down? That is insane, but the rocks do fall down. This gives Hut a bit of time to work himself into this base, take out the Nexus, maybe get some of these probes as well. Needs to be careful with his stim. All of his units are very red. They're either blushing or someone is talking about them. He's forced to get out of there as many of the Protoss units are now hungry for some vengeance here, and they do get a few Marines for their work. But, I mean, Hut has just been controlling the economy. Look at his opponent's probe count, 37. 37 at the 26-minute mark, and now we'll see some DTs come into play, but as I said, I would really like to see some Stargate play coming out here, but as you can see, a nuke will be coming down. It looks as if it will drop down right in the middle of nowhere. Our Protoss player is starting to move through. Here he comes. Does take a little bit of a nuke to the side here, but luckily these guys have got some protection there. EMP's coming out, sniping down those Templar. No chance for a storm. Hut is just continually dominating in these fights. Extra command centers will be building up, possibly looking to take this base across to the right-hand side as Hut looks to further his economic lead and his economic power here as well. Given that we've now started to see extra racks now coming out, I would not even say that getting more is a bad idea. And in fact, there you go. He has a total of 17 racks. The production capabilities of our Terran player here are absolutely massive, but not to say that it's an impenetrable army, because as we said before, Archons, when they start to pick up some more upgrades, are just huge when it comes to these battles, as long as you can try and deal with Ghosts before they get their feedbacks off. But there is a really nice little a blink bind, perhaps as it were, with our Protoss player getting some damage done. But I mean, at this point, when the Terran player has got, you know, mules galore that are able to pop out, it is not too much of an issue to lose some SCVs. But as we can see, Hut is, again, just defending his positions very, very carefully here, with the Ghost laying down those EMPs all over the place. We can now see the total of Ghosts is up to a ridiculous 23. We've almost got more Ghosts than Marines. It's not often you get to see that kind of thing in from a Terran player, but he is almost up to that. We can see we'll now push across. EMPs now coming out on the entire Protoss army. I think one of the Archons was available to keep some shields up and running, but now Hut is going to push forward. It's going to take down these destructible rocks, covering the 4th base. Again, we still have not seen even an attempt to take the top left corner base, which is a little bit more protected in a way. But I think that our red guy is starting to get a little bit worried at this point, but a scan goes down, taking care of a DT. The upgrades, of course, are 3-3 here for all of Hut's units, apart from the Vikings up in the sky. 1-1 on them at the current time. These Ghosts, they are just wandering about, making sure that the Protoss does not have any shields or energy. He's been doing a really good job of that. But now the Colossus counter started to increase. 3-3 is available now. 3-1-3, I should say, is available for these Colossi to do all sorts of massive AoE damage. Now, one thing we haven't really seen our Protoss player do is try and utilize some flanking Templar. You can sometimes put them up in the corners here just to come across and lay down storms in these sorts of positions here. But that is not something we've seen a huge amount of here, and you know, I'm kind of a little bit surprised about that. Normally, you do see people these days starting to use flanking Templar. They'll split them up so that EMPs cannot crush an entire army like that. And that is one thing I would also like to start to see from our Protoss player, but he is starting to run out of resources right now. His income is currently sitting at around about 1,300 minerals per second, of course, around about 400 gas, which isn't a huge amount. Now, he's mined down at the natural base and the main as well. Hut, once again, getting some really good EMPs off. Some storms will deal with a few of the units here, but I mean, there's just so many Ghosts, and with the medevacs are coming across to throw down some support. Where are the rest of the medevacs? There's only 4. Alright, so we've only got these 4 medevacs here. DT coming across, getting some really good work done, but I mean, as we said before, at this point, when your opponent has a total of 8 orbital commands, it means that you can just do whatever you want when it comes to SCVs. He probably doesn't even need these SCVs at this base. Build up the gas income, and then just say, alright, you can have some of these SCVs, and I'll get some more units out. So that's what we do like to see at the later game stage here. Now, Protoss player is starting to look towards air. He's getting some more shields. Of course, the +1 on the air weapons also coming out. We'll probably see him try and blink back behind here to get some vision on these SCVs. The Planetary Fortress does have the extended range upgrade. The high-sec auto track has been active for a very long time. I did see it, but I kind of didn't mention it because like I don't really know about it in bio-based player. I get it quite a lot when I'm playing mech against Protoss. It really helps out in dealing with those kinds of run-bys and also sniping out observers if they fly too close to your turrets, but I've never really seen it here in this this kind of situation. So a little bit of a difference there for Hut. He's going to now move his, you know, just a measly 29 Ghosts just down to the bottom side of this ridge. They're going to shoot over the cliff and up into these observers here. As we can see, they're just going to constantly wander around and have free reign over these probes. They just annihilate them within seconds there. As we can see, this is a problem with this kind of base, and it is a little bit difficult to keep that kind of mineral line alive when there's so much that can be done. But, I mean, we're kind of in a very static kind of position right now. Our Protoss player is starting to get some Tempest out. Good to see those guys being added in. They can give you some opportunity. Whoa, that probe transfer. I think Hut missed that. Looks like we may get an engagement here. Now, this is a little bit of a precarious position because of this little crevice here and then the cliff to the side. So both of these players need to be very careful how they engage. Of course, if you push up too high with this kind of army, you can get stormed. But if you do get your EMPs down properly, then the Protoss will just whittle down within seconds here. And Hut has decided he's going to clean up this base. what was effectively a 5th base for our Protoss player has now gone down. Constant scans coming out from Hut to keep an eye on what is going on. He's going to see those Tempests and say, alright, we may get some long-range pressure coming out. I need to be careful about that. But, you know, he's got a high count of Vikings at this point as well. The 12 Vikings up in the air are going to provide him with some defense against those Tempests. But this is a kind of point where it starts to get a little bit difficult here when all of these ghosts are around. I mean, you know, we've been talking about it the entire game, is how Hut has constantly had a huge count of ghosts down, and that just gives him the ability to snipe down units, EMP everything, cloak up, and then as long as these pesky little observers are dead, then you can just wreck entire armies, no matter how hardcore the army is, whether it's like high-tech Templar, whether there's a lot of Colossi, or whether there's a heap of those Zealots. That just gives you so much power, and there we go, a beautiful example of that right here. We'll probably see Hut cloak up, there he goes. There are a couple of observers here. Now we can see the Tempest from the back are going to be firing down on a lot of these units. Wonderful storms, look at all of that. A storm is such a powerful tool for the Protoss army, and well, Hut is being forced into a very awkward position there. The Colossus are just completely wrecking these armies, getting a bunch of kills all over the place. 333 is active on all of their weapons, which means this base is not going to be lasting too long. However, he did lose a couple of those observers, but the Tempest will be free to shoot down anything from long range regardless. Now Hut is going to be saying, well, alright, well, I need some more ghosts. 7 ghosts at a time, a nuke is on the way, some more Vikings, Marines, and Marauders will be coming out from our Terran player very quickly here. And, you know, this is a point where I am very, very perplexed at the lack of another Nexus here for our Protoss player. He can take this base. There's just a small little Reaper there, but I mean, he can certainly look to take that. I'm not too much of a fan of this kind of army pushing across. You could maybe maneuver the Tempest so that you can shoot down this base from the side, keep the rest of the ground army around this sort of position here where they can, you know, just sort of protect the Tempest, but I don't know about pushing in this sort of direction here because it's a little bit of a cramped up place. So he does fall back for now. We can see that there is a random Reaper thrown in the mix here. Just an accidental press of that R key from Hut, I bet. But the ghost count, it's back up to 22. No big deal. Two nukes are available now for Hut as well. We can see the Colossus count still sitting at 4. We've got 4 Tempests as well. There are 6 Archons, I should say. There is going to be a nuke coming out. It is going to be laying down on this base across to the top right-hand side. Just scouting it out in the nick of time is the Red Protoss, and we see the nuke now coming in. Mushroom cloud dropping down all over that base. The Ghost is going to run out of energy in a second, and he may be taken out by crows. That's probably not the best of deaths here, as Hut maneuvers to the side. He wants to get that Ghost out of there, but I mean, he's done a little bit of damage, took some of the shields off this Nexus, opens it up for another nuke perhaps later on. Are you serious? He's going to get away? He's going to get away. I have no idea how that happened, but not for long. The Colossi say no, and, well, that'll be the end of that Ghost's wonderful tour of duty there. But now we have to look back at the sort of the macro position of this game. We can see that Hut has retaken this base across to the right-hand side. Another nuke going down, a predictable kind of nuke, I would say, but so the Protoss is able to get out of there. Did spot that little dot on the Nexus, and now we can see that the Vikings are coming in hard. What is that? Accidentally sends his Vikings into the nuke, and Hut has lost basically all of his anti-air there. We can see that the Nexus will go down for the cost of that, and that is quite unfortunate there for the Australian Terran player. We can see him taking out the Nexus, of course, and that is quite a bit of the Protoss player's economy, but he is now getting another base sub. So this game, wow, it's a bit of a blunder. It's nothing massive. Like, I don't think that is gonna change too much, as Hut has still got 90 bajillion ghosts out right now. 27 perhaps is a more reasonable number, but we'll see how that goes, because we did see in the previous engagement Tempest, the Colossus, and the Archons, and even a few storms down the back. We can see these Templar slowly approaching from the backside are going to be very, very difficult to deal with. And as you can see, this is exactly what I was looking for when it comes to a sieging unit, these Tempests, because they can slowly whittle down these kinds of buildings from afar, and that gives you the ability to be very efficient with the units. And of course, when it comes to late game, energy units and efficient units are very, very much king. So they are able to, use their storms, use feedbacks on Ghosts and things like that. I think actually feedbacking would be a bit of a waste right now. You kind of need Storm for the rest of the Ghosts on the ground, but Hut is he's going to be very careful with his Ghost. We can see he's got 8 more now pumping out. Command Center across to the right-hand side is going to back off for the moment. It looks as if our Protoss player was looking to come in and assault this bottom corner base. I'm very surprised this is still mining so heavily here, but eventually it is going to start to lose some of that income. Hut pushing forwards. Now he does get some excellent EMPs off, but the Ghosts have been torn apart by the Colossi from afar, and, well, you know, this is starting to become a little bit of a problem here for Hunt, is that he is getting these gorgeous EMPs off, but he can't really capitalize on it. So what he's going to do, he can't really run headlong into this army. The Colossus is too powerful, the possible storms there are going to be a lot to deal with as well, and what he's going to do is just try and run by. He wants to avoid that army for the moment, just because of the huge Ghost count, we don't have as many units on the ground. So more Marauders and Marines are going to come out. It looks as if we may go into perhaps a small base trade situation here between these two players. 4 Tempests are going to be quite useful here in this fight. The Colossus, of course, wonderful at dealing that AoE damage to help bust down some of those buildings. But Hunt, with his, what are we at, 24 Ghosts right now, has 17 Marines out. There are 12 Marauders out on the field as well, but I mean, these guys are stuck on this side of the map, so he needs to be careful at the moment. But as we can see, it is going to move into basically a deny all of your mining situation with both players. Our Protoss is now down to just the 6 workers. He's lost a lot of them at the nukes that were going on across at some of these bases. And of course, when Hut came across to take this base, he also lost quite a few of those workers. And here we go. Looks like we may have a battle with the ground forces coming in from the side, the air approaching from the top end as well. But the Tempests are very, very powerful in these sorts of situations as long as they are protected. Archons are going to throw up the Pimp Fist. Should be able to deal with most of those Vikings. And there is some wonderful storm usage there from the Red Protoss. He's going to be able to deny a lot of these units. The Colossus are starting to fall though. Ghosts are going to be detected by those observers, and wow, what a crazy, crazy battle here between these two players. I'm not exactly sure how to call this. I mean, Hunt is going to have the mining with his huge amount of mules that he can drop down, but the Protoss has really got a powerful force up in the air. As long as he can be careful of these Vikings and the Ghosts, of course, then he should be able to slowly whittle down some of these units. But the Protoss now has no production. We have 25 minerals available for our Protoss player. That is probably the nail in the coffin, I would suggest, given that he's going to have a very hard time keeping up with Hunt's mules that are constantly bringing in the dollars, and then it means that, you know, it just starts to become a little bit of a an awkward situation. So the red guy is going to be forced to long distance mine from this base across to the side. This is part of a problem I kind of feel with not even attempting to take this base up towards the top edge of the map, is that he has, you know, the economy wasn't where it kind of should have been, and I mean, that could certainly cost in this game. As I said, I kind of feel like it eventually will. Hut's going to drop inside the main base, wants to deny some of this mining. There he figures he can't really engage some Colossus and also some of the Tempest, so he's going to take the best option possible, and that is to drop into this base, even dropping in an SCV. I don't know what's with that, but he does come through, drops in some units here. We do see a Ghost heading out. Will probably be a nuke. He's going to look for some mining and say, well, where are all these units? Because, sorry, where is all the mining? Because, you know, if he can drop down a nuke and deny any last mining of the Protoss player, then that is going to be lights out for him. But Hut is going to start a step forwards with his Marines and Marauders. He's going to try and take down the rest of the production capabilities of our Protoss player here. The Vikings trying to do what they can against some of these units, but it is just too much. These Tempests do so much damage. Taking down a Ghost that's decided to wander through. We can see there is a small pocket of units here for Hut that are going to try and contest this. I kind of feel like with all of these forces, he could probably run in and kill this off. Like, I mean, the two Colossus, they're not protected by Zealots. The only thing that is doing any kind of protection are the Tempests, and I mean, they have such a slow rate of fire, it becomes very hard for them to do that, and Hut, well, he's doing what I thought the Protoss player would have done by this point, and that is take this top left base. So he is going to take this one. It's protected for the moment. There are rocks blocking the way, and as you can see, with the basically production of nil coming out of our Protoss player, it looks like we will get a bit of a fight here. Hut coming forwards actually gets a storm right on top of him. Perhaps that wasn't the best time to move forwards and try and take out this army. So Hut is, well, he loses a lot of those units there, and he himself is having a little bit of a production problem here, just getting out Vikings at this point. He needs something to be able to deal with this army, but the Tempests, of course, are very powerful long range. But slowly but surely, these guys are whittling each other down. And I think that, yeah, I kind of feel like in the long run, it is going to be our Terran player's game, just because of the fact he's been mining off this base constantly. He's slowly upgrading that Viking count, which is, in the end, it is going to be powerful enough to stop the Tempest and the Colossus. But I mean, you know, it's going to take a little while. So Hutt is coming across. I think he should try and snipe down some of those probes there, but he decides to go for the assimilators. You have money, says the Protoss guy, and of course Hutt says yes. He's getting a quite a decent income at this point. We can see he's up at around about 1,000 minerals per minute. And, well, I don't know. This is that point. It's kind of reminding me of the 3-hour game between Mana and Firecake the other day. I'm sure everyone knows what we're talking about when it comes to that, but it's kind of that situation where the Protoss has a strong army, but eventually, it's going to be whittled down by his opponent, because these Marauders, of course, the Marines, they're all going to get healed up. They're very efficient units in that regard, which is why you do see a lot of them in the late game. Hutt looking for an EMP. He's trying to find these Templar. He knows that if he can get the energy off these Templar, then it is going to be game over, because the rest of his forces can just charge in and take out all of these units. So he is going to look for that EMP, but the Ghosts decide to back off for now. We can see that he is still mining off this side base, has not been detected by our Protoss player. Neither of these bases have been found, and look, he is going to send across a couple of Zealots to figure out what is going on, but it is all a little bit too late at this point. Hutt with a few more units that are just going to escape for now. His ground forces are really starting to pick up again. We've got a lot of Ghosts. We've got some Vikings out now as well, and this is enough. This is more than enough to take care of this army. All you need to do, get an EMP or two off on these Templar, and then the rest of the units can just, you could probably just stim and 1A into this army. In fact, that may be what we see here. He's going to stim up. He's trying to target down the Colossus. Does get one. Two Marauders are going to go on a valiant journey to try and chase after this extra Colossus. Looks like the DT is going to come out. Of course, a very helpful unit, but I mean, at this stage, when you're against Ghosts and, of course, those the scans that can come out, it is a pretty hard thing to make that DT worthwhile. So we do see Hutt moving forwards, taking out the Templar. The Ghosts are down. Sorry, the Templar are down. The Colossi are gone, and that is it. A GG Imba sign out there from our Red Protoss player here today. What a crazy game. It was a little bit back and forth, and then it went into a very kind of passive kind of period for quite a while. But Hutt, with his massive Ghost count, was able to say, no energy, no shields for you, and eventually was able to take the win there. So I hope you guys all enjoyed that. Make sure you go say hello to Hutt on Twitter, and I'll catch you all next time. Here. As you can see, 47 damage to bio units, and then the 34 damage against other standard targets. His storms have also been wonderful, just spreading them out across the battlefield, doing really, really nicely there. And for minigun, he's been sticking with a much more